Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Power Alley Podcast. We're connected to Spinnable Sports Network. You can find us on all podcast platforms as well as Spinnable Sports YouTube channel. I'm Fresh. You can find me on Twitter, X, Twix, whatever you want to call it, via SS underscore 2Fresh. That is at SS underscore 2Fresh. The SS is for Spinnable Sports. I'm a contributor to SpinnableSports.com and a co-host of our flagship podcast, the Irrational Confidence Podcast. You can also find that on Twitter/X at IR Confidence Pod, IR Confidence Pod. If you're looking for more, obviously at Spinnable Sports on Twitter and X. And for me, this is the Power Alley Podcast. We've got another episode today. You can find us on Twitter at Power Alley Pod. Coming in, it's May 26th. They just released the full NCAA baseball tournament field of 64. So we'll go through that a little bit today. Take a look at where we are MLB wise as we close around, get toward the end of May. And also dabble into a little bit of the Women's College World Series. We have the final 8 teams standing, all making their way to Oklahoma City. Oklahoma Sooners looking to win their 5th straight national championship in that arena. So quite impressive. We'll dive into that a little bit. But a lot of baseball this time of year as we close that May and enter into June and keep moving forward. Really, to start off in the leadoff spot here today, as I mentioned, we're recording as of May 26th. As a Brewers fan, it really hurts me to say the Cubs and Cardinals are for real. The Cubs are a machine. They have scored 10-plus runs, I think 12, 13 times, which hasn't happened in their history almost in over 100 years. It is, I mean, they're just mashing left and right. Suzuki dominant, Kyle Tucker dominant. You're getting great at-bats from Horner, from Dansby Swanson, and obviously PCA is out there. Pitching staff's kind of a little beat up right now. Their bullpen ERA is over 4, and so I'll dive in a little bit more of it later here today. And their starting rotation, they're kind of going through it. Obviously, losing Justin Steele, and then Imanaga hurt. There's no real timetable on his return at exactly this moment. So those are the biggest question marks. Can that Cubs pitching staff get themselves back on top? They have to pull this team through down the stretch in case the bats go silent for a little bit of a stretch period. Right now, the offense is showing no signs of slowing down. And the Cardinals, last year, 2024, they were abysmal, and I was very happy to see that. They were falling apart. A lot of young kids coming up. They weren't playing great. They've kind of flipped the switch. You know, Eric Fetty's pitching well. Sonny Gray's being a veteran leader at the top of that rotation. Nolan Arenado is just being himself. He's getting it done at third. I think the Cardinals were still kind of torn. They want to win, but overall franchise future, can this be sustainable through the summer? If they're in it the entire time, they can't trade Nolan Arenado. But if they start falling out of it, then his value grows up. Obviously, especially for the Yankees who need third base help. There's a couple other teams as well. But he would be the hottest, name on the market there. So the Cardinals are kind of in a great situation on the field, but I think front office wise, they're probably looking at both aspects of the future for 1 year of success. So we'll see if that Cardinals team continues to keep moving forward. But right now, basically through the first 2 months, they're great. The Athletics, their record may not be the best. They're coming off an 11-game losing streak. They finally did break it, beating the Phillies on Saturday night or on Sunday. But that lineup has a bunch of mashers. Jacob Wilson's good. Rooker. You're going to get Langoliers. They have talent on that team. They're calling guys up. Kurtz obviously at first base. They're playing all the young guys in the lineup. They're getting the young guys at bats, getting young guys experience, letting them play together, letting them learn what it takes. So hopefully in 2 to 3 years when they get to Vegas, that team will have most of those cornerstones locked in the lineup, and they can go out there and make some plays on pitching. Pitching staff, on the other hand, obviously Mason Miller in the back end of the bullpen is really good. There's a lot of question marks in that rotation. They're playing a lot of young guys, whether relief pitchers or starters, trying to figure out. But they're at least a fun watch. And if your team isn't going to be good, you're not going to win a World Series or compete for a division title. At least be fun to watch, at least be entertaining, and that's what they are. They're an exciting team to watch, and they have a great ballpark there for the hitters in Sacramento, which is an offensive launching pad that's only going to get better as the summer continues to heat up and move forward. Juan Soto on the opposite of exciting right now. That guy, is there too much pressure on him? Did the contract really mess with him? Was he given bad information to take the extra money and become the best deal of all, as opposed to maybe making a smart play, staying with the Yankees? He obviously has made it public that it's weird being in a lineup with not having Aaron Judge behind you and getting better pitches to hit. But it's not like you're in a lineup with nobodies. You have Alonso, Lindor. I mean, they got guys in the lineup who can be one above and one behind. You're going to get pitches to hit. But you put the pressure on yourself, and you're going to get pitched around a little bit because you took on that contract. So the best players show up when it matters most. Get over the booing, get over the public, spotlight. That's what you were getting paid to handle. You're in New York. You chose to stay there, and you're going to make it worse if you don't pick up your play. You've got to get your mind right and start taking at bats one at a time. Start working some walks, getting some singles. Stop trying to hit everything as a home run. Get singles, get doubles, put the ball in the power alley, put the ball down the lines. Start driving some runs, getting that confidence. It was just like a golfer. You don't have to come out there and mash it. Just an easy swing, hit the ball, easy swing, hit the ball, and eventually you'll get it going. But right now you've applied a lot of pressure on yourself by taking on that contract. You've got to live up to it, or you're going to continue to get booed and looked at as a failure for a long time. And that's what the price you pay for being in New York City. On the other end, a guy who's about to get paid, Kyle Schwarber, just passed his 300 career home run milestone. He's a pending free agent. He is raking right now for the Phillies. That team is coming. They won 11 straight. They did just lose to the Athletics, but they are climbed back to the top of the NL East, and they are locked in. The only real issue I have right now with the Phillies is that bullpen. And losing Jose Alvarado with the 80-game PED suspension, yeah, he'll come back in the regular season, but he won't be there in the playoffs. Is Jordan Romano ready to go by the time he got his issues squared away? Matt Strom got his issues all squared away. His K per 9 is great, but he gives up runs every once in a while. He's kind of been a little loose the past two outings, the past two of the three last outings. I foresee the Phillies making a move to go add some bullpen help at the trade deadline. Maybe, right now I think starting pitching is okay. Noel's being hurt, but Zach Wheeler's great. You're seeing Luzardo pitch well. I think they're just going to fine-tune that bullpen and let the offense continue to keep pumping out, and they'll be just fine. Another team in the NL East, they're spending a lot of time there right now. The Braves. We thought they were finished. They fought all the way back. And Ronald Acuna Jr. comes back, has 2 home runs in his first 2 days back. First pitch he saw, his first game back on Friday night, launched it. That's the energy right there they need. Get him going, get Albies going. Matt Olson, get him some confidence. Let the team start playing some ball, and they'll be okay. Pitching wise, Strider's coming back here soon. Obviously, coming back. His first start back was a little rough. Get him back out there, get his confidence going, get this pitching staff sort of rolled, and that bullpen. That's the biggest issue right now for the Braves. Now you got Acuna Jr. back, you got Strider back, and that bullpen get themselves squared away. If they can figure that part out, I think the offense will follow. But right now, the fact that they battled back and they're 1 or 2 games under 500, or even at 500, depending on the record, don't have the exact standings in front of me right now. It's an impressive feat. Is Snicker still making some questionable decisions? Oh yeah. If this team goes into a midseason swoon, is he going to probably be canned? I think it's a discussion because the talent's there. There's no lack of talent on the field for the Braves. It's how Snick can get this team to actually perform at a high level. So we'll see as the season plays out, and we'll follow it closely. But with Acuna Jr. back, there is life right now in Atlanta for the Braves. Looking at starting pitchers, we're getting toward the end of May. Per Codified Baseball, and if you're looking for some great baseball stats on Twitter, on X at Codified Baseball, it's just straight through. They have some great, interesting, unique stats, and I'm going to go through a couple that they provided here in the past couple of days. These are all as of May 25th. The Dodgers lead baseball in starting pitchers used. You wouldn't think it. Like, man, they have Snell, they have, Tyler Glasnow, Yamamoto, Sasaki. Only one of those 4 guys that I just named is actually in the rotation healthy right now for the Dodgers. Kershaw's back out there. Dustin May, I think, could use probably some time at AAA, but because they have nobody else, he is being run out there. They've used 13 starting pitchers so far and is through May 25th. That leads all of baseball. If this was any other franchise, outside maybe the Dodgers, Yankees, Mets, maybe I don't know, the Cubs right now, if they lose another pitcher, they're probably in trouble. So maybe the Yankees, you lose 3 or 4 top end starters, and who else can sustain that? They have the offense to sustain, and there's a reason why they had so many pitchers signed in AAA or even as long relievers who could step into the starting role to buy them some time, to bridge some gaps. Yeah, they have some couple guys on the escalator going between AAA and in the big club every once in a while to get a couple starts, and then using that movement. But how long can they hold on? How long can they keep this sustainable? Can Kershaw give them a couple starts? Can May get himself turned around and bridge them until those guys come back healthy later in the year? The only positive, if they come back healthy, if they do at all, they'll be rested and they'll be maybe there for a playoff run, but you got to get there anyway. So let's see how the Dodgers manage that. The other team, second in Major League Baseball in starting pitchers, the Milwaukee Brewers, is 11 as of today, as of starting May 26th. That's what I'm recording. They've used 11 starting pitchers, have a couple of guys going up, and Logan Henderson just was sent back down this morning. There's a lot of controversy about that. Man, are they abusing his service time? The Brewers have been doing this for years. This is how a small market team has to manage it. The guy's options. You call him up. You have bullpen issues. You need to get some fresh arm from the bullpen. You send him down. You skip a start. He comes right back up. They've done it already with Tobias Myers. They're going to do it with Henderson. They're going to do it with a bunch of guys to keep rotating through and managing that as the best they possibly can. Obviously, eventually, at some point, that option, quota is going to be met, and they're going to have to stick the guy up in AAA or DFA him. When it comes, it comes. So right now, the Brewers have 11 starters, and I think Woodruff is going to join that and make it become 12, and they'll get Quintana back, and hopefully they can start getting that rotation back to where it needs to be. And that's another reason why they're probably not calling up Jacob Mizorowski. They don't want to get that service time started either, and he obviously has been dominant down in AAA. Following the Dodgers and the Brewers and starting pitchers used, the Astros and Orioles are both tied for third with 10. So you're starting to see, at this point, there's always a couple teams that have to go through a lot of injuries, a lot of inconsistent pitching, a lot of bad pitching, try to find guys who can lock it in and actually, get some outs. There's a reason why the Angels have been so good. Also, per codified baseball, the Angels have only used 5 starting pitchers so far in 2025. That is obviously the minimum because you have 5 starters usually in rotation. They have 5 guys. It means they have been very, very healthy. They've been very good. The guys have all pitched well. They haven't gone to AAA or AA trying to find a guy to give them a spark. They have been very, very solid at the starting rotation perspective. It's the reason why the Angels are in the hunt right now and having a great start to the season. Even with Mike Trout out, they're getting some offense, but their starting pitching has been keeping them in ball games and allowing that offense to fight back when it needs to. Now, ironically, on the other side of that, the Angels are dead last in Major League Baseball in their bullpen ERA with 6.45. So the starting rotation has been dominant. They have 5 guys. They haven't had to call anybody up, haven't had injuries, but that bullpen is the reason why they have a lot of their losses. It's a 6.45 ERA through May 25th for that bullpen ERA for the Angels. If they can get that fixed, this team actually has a chance of being a playoff team, or at least begin that conversation as we get down through June, July, and August. If that starting rotation can keep going and that bullpen can get better, there are more wins there for the Angels. Just above them are the Nationals at 6.13 and the Braves, the third worst bullpen ERA at 6.01. So like I mentioned earlier, the Braves have issues in the bullpen. There it is. An ERA of over 6 through May 25th. That's got to change if the Braves are going to get anywhere. That obviously the ERA early on in the year was a reason why they were struggling to get going. They couldn't close games out. They've got to still have an issue now. They've got to find a way to figure that out to help balance the offense and balance the starting rotation if they want to get themselves back in the NL playoff race. The NL Central, the Cubs are dominant. The Cardinals are pretty good. But all 5 NL Central teams have a bullpen ERA of 4 or worse. There's a lot of bullpen issues right now in the NL Central between the Cincinnati Reds, the Milwaukee Brewers, the Pirates, the Cardinals, and the Cubs. Those bullpen woes might cost a team a playoff spot right now, whether it's a wild card spot or a division down the road. Expect them all to find ways to address it. They've got to if they really want to be more than one team making the playoffs. You're going to have to figure that out real soon. On the other end of the spectrum, the reason why the San Francisco Giants are second in the NL West right now, they have the best bullpen ERA at 2.61. That bullpen right there in San Francisco, along with playing in a great pitcher's ballpark there, it helps. They play to their ballpark, they take advantage of it, and they dominate late in the ballgame when it matters. These stats are all presented by Codified Baseball. You can find them at Codified Baseball on Twitter and /X. Really good stuff there. And I'll dive into a little bit more a bit later as we go through today's episode. As I mentioned at the very beginning, today they announced the field of 64 for the college baseball NCAA tournament. Road to Omaha. Get yourself to Omaha, Nebraska in the College World Series. It's a goal. It is a historic thing. It is very, very important. We all fall in love with the NCAA basketball tournament in March Madness. This college baseball tournament actually has more potential for small schools, for non-Power 4 schools to make noise, to upset, to reach Omaha, and to even host regionals. It's a much different environment. These games are all played on campus. I know we've come with college football opening games on campus, NCAA tournaments all at neutral sites. College baseball, the first 2 weekends of the tournament are all in college regional locations. And then the neutral site of Omaha, Nebraska for the College World Series itself. That is the goal. That is the dream. The road to Omaha is like the Final Four. It's like playing in the national championship game in college football. That's the site you want to get there. There are 16 regional sites for those of you who are not familiar with college baseball. 4 teams per regional site, so 64 from there. It is a 2-loss elimination tournament. The winner of each regional will then move on to the super regionals, and the super regionals are a best of 3. The winner of that super regional goes to Omaha. Each, and very similar to like an NCAA tournament basketball bracket where you have them paired up, you can sort of see how they're going to filter through. There are regionals that are paired. So if you win this region, you already know the region winner or region teams that you would play in the super regional. They're kind of already paired out, so you kind of have an idea how to match up and where your potential situations come from, how you want to prepare, etc. Sometimes there are a total of 7 games in a regional that just because of the way the wins and losses, the loser brackets kind of go, things can play out. These games can get very cumbersome, and you could have 7 total games in a regional between 4 different teams at some point participating and making it through. So that's a lot of baseball to be played in usually a 4-day perspective. Usually the game 7's on a Monday. You have 2 Friday, 2 Saturday, and then 2 Sunday if needed. And then that game, 7 on that Monday, if there's still a bunch of teams with 1 loss, but no one has actually completely pushed it over the edge. You got to manage a bullpen. You have to manage the innings. Sometimes you have double headers, and you win the first game, stay alive, keep playing. It's a very exhausting event of a weekend, and that's where the chaos comes into play. You're going to see maybe the number 1 starter, which in college baseball usually is the Friday night starter is your number 1. Depending on if you're the top seed in the region, you might not pitch that guy on Friday. You might save him till that matchup, hopefully in a winner's bracket on Saturday, to get yourself into that championship, final unscathed. So it's strategic. It's how to move guys around. Who's ready? Who do you trust? You might see guys. It's not like the MLB where you have to face 3 batter minimum, et cetera, et cetera. Hey, you can bring a guy in for a batter. There are a lot of delays. There are a lot of pitching changes. Things play out. Metal bats can lead to a lot of runs. And some of these ballparks, they're all built the teams are built for these schools. So if you're a host, you already know your team is built to play in that ballpark. You have the advantage from that perspective. You're home. You're in your own bed, your own locker room. You need to take advantage of that comfort. You're going to have the majority of the fans behind you as well, but it's never that easy. You've got to be ready to play. You can't come in looking somebody over. You can't come in thinking, well, they're Northeastern. What do they know? They can't compete with me. They don't have a baseball brand, in my opinion. I'm not going to be able to compete with them. We already have the talent. We have all this big time recruits. We got all the NIL money, et cetera, et cetera. It's baseball. It is a game. Things happen. Pitching, defense, hitting. Can you do the simple things? Can you get the ground balls? Can you throw the ball to first base? Can you throw strikes? These are the biggest parts of the game that I think we always overlook. But in college baseball, it causes chaos and it causes excitement because the simple things come undone. And we got to remember, these aren't major league players. These are still college athletes. These are still 18 to 22-year-olds who are out there in energy, the excitement, playing for a national championship, have the opportunity to go and do some damage on a national level. People show up and they get ready. Obviously, there's going to be some skill set. You're going to see some kids out there throwing, some pretty heavy heat. I heard Kyle Peterson talk earlier today, who is one of the best broadcasters for college baseball and works for ESPN, SEC Network. There were 11 guys in the SEC tournament alone who threw 100 miles an hour plus. 11 pitchers in the SEC tournament alone. He said when he was playing back in the mid-'80s or early '80s, there was only 2 guys nationally who could touch 100 when he was playing his entire college career. LSU had back-to-back pitchers throw 100 plus during the SEC tournament. There is some gas being thrown. There are some hitters out there. And with that gas and with some better pitching, you're not going to see as many home runs. College baseball usually thrives on home runs, and obviously the temperature getting warmer, it becomes part of that, and that's always a big deal. But you're going to see some interesting things where can guys just get doubles? Can guys get singles? Can they earn walks? Can they steal bases? Can we manufacture runs? Are we going to see some suicide squeezes? You can't always rely on a 3-run home run, whether it's MLB, whether it's AAA, whether it's college baseball. The 3-run home run is not as prevalent as y'all think it is. And if you play to it, eventually it's going to catch up with you. I'm going to go into the top 16 teams and the 16 seeds and kind of look what regional they're paired with in a second. But it's a game where you're going to have to find ways to win. You just got to gut it out. It doesn't matter if you run rule someone by 10 runs or if you win 2-1 or 1-0 in 16 innings. You just have to win and keep your dream alive for the next weekend. Get to the next game. Get to the next day. Stay alive. Luckily, if you make it to the super, get to the super regional and make yourself to Omaha. Getting to Omaha is an achievement enough. And then from there, the cream really does rise to the top because you do have some elite talent out there that usually make it. In the past 5 years, for the last 5 years, 5 of the top 8 national seeds have reached Omaha. So it's a good bet, but it's not guaranteed. The last 2 was 5. In the 2022, if my math is right, that was only 2 of the 8 made it. And then the previous 2 years after that, so 21 and I think 19 to 20 that was in the tournament, they both made it. So you're in a good spot, as a top 8 seed, but nothing's guaranteed. You have got to show up and be ready to play in your home ballpark, and then also not just win your regional, make sure you take care of the super regional too. This year, 13 SEC teams in the field, including the top 4 national seeds. That's the first time ever that a single conference has had the 4 top national seeds in the country. And I want to say they haven't even added in, Georgia into that equation. So that's 5 teams in the top 8. There's definitely talent in the SEC. And look, I know people are like SEC bias and blah, 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 this and blah, 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 that. When people say it means more and SEC dominance and all the chanting of the SEC, it's overall league. It's top to bottom. It's not just football. It's football. It's women's soccer. It's basketball from men's and women's perspective. Swimming and diving. It's tennis. It's golf. It's track and field. It's softball and it's baseball. It's all the spectrum of all the sports and the athletic success. If you don't believe me, look it up. These teams, at no matter what level, all those sports, you're going to see SEC teams playing for and winning national championships. The last team in college baseball, the only other team the SEC has had representatives in the national championship series, the final series, every year, I think, for the last 6 years. The only team that has not appeared the only team that's non-SEC was Michigan. That's 2019. It has been SEC matchups every single time in the College World Series final for years. The SEC is going for their 6th straight national championship, and I want to say, 9 of the last 10 or 8 of the last 9. It's a very extensive run. It's there. There's talent down here that does not demeaning to the ACC, because I have tremendous respect for North Carolina, for Clemson, for Duke, for Wake Forest. I know Virginia didn't make the tournament this year. Florida State has an amazing program. They lead all programs in 61 NCAA regionals. That's right there. Florida State baseball is the king of kings when it comes to that. They can't win the national championships, but they definitely make the tournament every year just about all like clockwork. The ACC has tons of talent. Last year we saw in the College World Series 4 SEC, 4 ACC. That's where the dominant comes from when it comes to baseball, folks. The Southeast, whether it's the Southeast Conference or the Southeast part of the United States, you're going to see those 2 conferences well represented in this field of 64. Now, the Big Ten, everyone thought that the move for Oregon, Washington, USC, and UCLA was just for football. It did well. You got football schools in there. I get it. It brought them great basketball programs on the men's and women's side. It brought them softball success, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. And it brought them baseball success. The Big Ten has 4 teams in the field of 64. USC, UCLA, and Oregon are 3 of those 4. If it wasn't for them and Nebraska wasn't winning the conference title, we could have had a Nebraska-Iowa argument for a final at-large bid, but who knows, because there were some bubble teams that had some similar RPIs, and that would have been iffy to get Nebraska in. They went out. The Big Ten was smart. They got 3 schools on the West Coast that gives them that opportunity to expand out their profile and keep the Big Ten involved in the national scope all the way through the end of June. This is a larger picture. This is a big thing at play. And this is what talks about expanding the conference, is getting everything you really need from that perspective. So we dive into the top 16 seeds, the Vanderbilt Commodores, Tim Corbin, what he does there at Vandy, the Vandy boys, they have pitching, they have hitting. Those boys can scrap it around. They can play. They're the number 1 overall seed. They're the reigning SEC tournament champions. The road will run through Nashville for them. They do get the winner of the 16 seed Southern Mississippi, Hattiesburg, Mississippi regional. Southern Miss, Miami, and Alabama are in that Hattiesburg regional. The winner of that one has a chance to play Vanderbilt in Nashville in the super regional. So we'll see how that one plays out. Speaking of the Oregon Ducks, they are the 12 seed. They are hosting a regional in Eugene. I have a feeling this is going to be pretty good in their favor. They have a very good team. They gave Texas A&M all they could handle last year in the supers, and they returned 8 of the 9 starters in that lineup. I got a feeling Oregon's looking forward, take advantage and make it happen. If they do win and North Carolina takes advantage of it, North Carolina's the 5 seed, it puts them in a great spot. And actually what gives us a fun little Nike setup with the Jordan brand for UNC and big time Nike there from Oregon. Big branding opportunity for the Nike, folks, and way chance to really sell that out. We get a North Carolina, Oregon super regional there in Chapel Hill. Auburn being the 4 seed, real head scratcher. They strike schedule number 1. They have 4 quad 3/quad 4 losses. The rest of the other top 8 seeds in the country had a combined 6. So it's a lot of losses for Auburn against teams that aren't very good. And bottom of the barrel. But on the flip side, they swept LSU. They beat Georgia Tech twice. and they beat Oregon State in a earlier season, like February round robin invitational tournament. So they've had success. They also got swept by Texas and they got swept by Georgia. What Auburn team are we going to see consistently? That's the biggest question. They have shown some talent, but they've also shown some underachieving abilities at times. So where do they kind of filter out as this year goes on? The 4 seed, the strength of schedule was there. The RPI was kind of there. But some of this just looking at on paper, like really, like, all right. So that one's an eye to keep on there. And I think they're going to get their hands full if they squeak out of their Auburn regional. There's the Conway, South Carolina regional. Coastal Carolina, the Chanticleers, very good baseball program, cool facility down there in Conway, South Carolina. They're getting the ECU Pirates, who are a baseball powerhouse, and they're also getting the Florida Gators. I really feel bad. The fourth team in that regional is Fairfield. You know, 2 losses and 1-2 barbecue at that perspective. You come in there, you get your free T-shirt, you have your meal, you get your practice. Probably gonna have 2 games and then a head in the barbecue and calling it a year. Get faced on the region they have to go there, but that region there in Conway, South Carolina, that one's gonna be a lot of fun. If it's on ESPN Plus, if it's on ESPN, if it's on ESPNU, SEC Network, whatever channel, whatever way you can find any of those games, tune in because Coastal Carolina, ECU is going to be a matchup if they play each other. Obviously, Coastal, ECU, Florida, those 3 going around and around. That's 3 really good baseball programs from that perspective. That's going to be a fun regional to pay attention to. Oregon State, they decided not to join the Big Ten. They're like, you know what, we're going to stay on our own. Oregon State baseball, that's a brand that has built itself. Adley Rushman obviously is the namesake from there, but they have done tons of talent across the board. They're hosting one out there in Corvallis. I think they'll have no trouble. And then the Florida State Seminoles, the 9 seed, hosting in Tally. Mississippi State's coming there, but I don't really see Florida State having much trouble. Northeastern obviously is the most wins in the country. They've won like 24, 25 straight. Steal a lot of bases, have a great pitching staff, but I'm going to come at who have they played consistently? Like, are those wins because they're just playing an inferior competition? You can look at the stats, but we're going to see the talent on the field when they play against Mississippi State and Florida State and how Northeastern really truly stacks up. But in the end, that Florida State Seminole team, I thought they could have been a top 8 seed earlier in the year. They have a lot of talent. Florida State baseball, 61st trip to the NCAA tournament. I think they are going to put on a show there in Tally, get through that regional pretty easily, and then make a trip to Corvallis to have a meet up with the Beavers and the Supers. Texas Longhorns had a great year. Obviously, new coach coming from Texas A&M. There was a lot of controversy last year in the College World Series. Texas looked really, really good all through the year, and they lost their best player to injury. They've had some injuries, ups and downs for some players on the roster. But if they're fully healthy and they're locked in, they're going to be in good shape. They're regional, Dallas, Houston, Houston Christian, UTSA. I don't see much opposition really forming against Texas if they're on their game. They do have a tendency to strike out. They've had a lot of strikeouts lately, especially against Tennessee in the NCAA tournament. So if they can get that sort of reined in, I think they'll be in good shape to win that regional and advance. And if they do advance, they're going to get a chance to host the winner of the Los Angeles Regional, which is being played at UCLA. I'll speak about the UCLA Regional later. That one's going to be a lot of fun to watch. And so if you're a late night college baseball fan and you're up, tune in because you're going to get some late Friday night, late Saturday evening, afternoon, and some Sunday action out there in California. And that Los Angeles Regional is going to be one to keep an eye on. And I tell you right now, any of the 4 teams in that regional can win that regional. So that one's going to be a lot of fun to pay attention to. 7 seed in the tournament, the Georgia Bulldogs, and the 10 seed, the Ole Miss Rebs. 2 SEC programs, both had a really good success this season, both had ups and downs. Ole Miss played for the SEC title against Vanderbilt. They looked really good against LSU in the semifinal there and Hoover. If they get hot, like they did a couple of years ago, they can make a run. They have some pitching. Georgia is built with the bat. They have an amazing lineup. They're getting Zabo back. They're getting Robbie Burnett back, getting some guys healthy in that lineup overall. They lead the nation in home runs. They lead the nation in slug. Their pitching has been up and down. They do have a propensity to strike out every once in a while. So if they can find a way to manage some runs, in Foley Field, that's a home run hitting ballpark. If they can get a hold of some bad pitching or take advantage of some mistakes, they're going to be in good shape. But home runs aren't always there. You have to learn how to manufacture runs. So if Georgia can manufacture some runs and get some better pitching when it matters clutch, especially against Duke, if they have that matchup at some point, that will be their key. They're going to need better pitching if they want to advance out, especially in that super if they do get there, whether it's, Ole Miss or Georgia Tech. They're going to have to be ready because the bats, You're going to have to be able to hit something other than home runs. Find ways to get some clutch singles, doubles, sack flies, steal some bags. If the Bulldogs want to get to Omaha, you're going to have to do it more than just hit the home run. We saw last year they got a tight matchup versus NC State. They couldn't overcome it in Game 3. NC State had too much pitching, and they couldn't make their way to Omaha. That's going to linger in the back of the minds of the Bulldogs. Can they get something more than just power hitting? Can they get some clutch hitting when it matters? Can they get some clutch pitching and really get that staff? Ole Miss side, they're a good team, but they're going to get a nasty, very angry Georgia Tech baseball team. They were the ACC regular season champs. They did not get to host, not even a top 16, which I took offense to. As much as I hate Tech, that team proved it. Now, maybe because they lost 2 to Auburn, maybe because they didn't play the second, third, or fourth team in the ACC all season, so they never had a chance to really play against the premier competition in their own league. Maybe because they also didn't play for the ACC title. That's why the committee did not give them a regional to host as a top 16 squad. But if you're looking for a team that is angry, going to come with an edge on their shoulder, the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, especially since their head coach is last year, he's a legend, he's been there forever. That right there is a 2 seed in the Ole Miss regional. I'm going to say right now, I give them better odds to come out of that regional than Ole Miss, just because there's a lot of extra motivation. Look at the Georgia regional, Duke. Duke is a very good baseball team. The ACC is an elite baseball conference. They are very, very, very good. Georgia's women's tennis team knocked Duke out of the tournament. Georgia's women's softball team went to Durham and beat them in the regional. Georgia Bulldogs, Coach Johnson, his whole squad. These Duke Blue Devils looking for some payback. They got something to uphold. So don't take the Blue Devils easily, and do not take Oklahoma State easy. Focus on the task at hand, get the job done, get the outs, get the victories. Nothing is guaranteed. You've got to fight for it all. Moving on to next regional 6 seed, LSU Tigers. I mean, LSU's been a dominant team. They have really good starting pitching, especially the top 2 in that rotation. Bullpen's been good. They have a lineup. LSU baseball is a lifeblood, and they will get fans there in the box in the thousands, packing them in. They'll be tailgating for hours out front. It's going to be a sight. And if they clean through that regional, we have a chance to have something really, really cool that I'm actually kind of rooting for. The Clemson Tigers are the 11 seed. They're hosting a regional there in Clemson, South Carolina. It's going to be a battle. Clemson hasn't really done anything fantastic all year, but they just win ball games. Their fielding, their base running, their offense, their pitching has kind of been middle of the pack, a little above average in the ACC, but they just keep winning. I actually want Clemson to win that regional, and I want LSU to win theirs. And so the Tigers in Baton Rouge in the box for a super regional, because the opener for football season is LSU at Clemson in August. We get a super regional, LSU Clemson, then we kick off the football season, LSU Clemson, Tiger bait. That's gonna be a battle right there, and I kind of want that extra energy. I want that flow. And then wrapping up of our 16 seeds, the 4 seed Arkansas Razorbacks hosting their regional in Fayetteville. A very, very good historic good baseball team always at Arkansas. What can they do? Can they finally go ahead and win a national championship? This team is very, very good. It's going to be interesting to see how they play it out and get it done. What can Arkansas handle here? And then on the other side, 14 seed Tennessee Volunteers. Tennessee, they're 3rd in the nation in home runs. They can mash. They have some talent. They did lose a lot of guys off that national championship team, but they are the reigning national champions. Can they garner some of the energy there in Knoxville and push through? They got Cincinnati who can steal some bases. They got a very good Wake Forest baseball team there who's going to give them some fits. But if they can make it through, a Tennessee Arkansas brawl in Fayetteville in the Super Regional will be a lot of fun. I will be word to the warning for Tennessee. Do you actually want to play Arkansas? Because the last 2 times I've seen there's some cases, but Tennessee football going to Arkansas this past year and a couple of years back, they haven't fared so well. Arkansas, I don't care what the sport is, they get Tennessee some fits, so maybe you don't want that. But that would be a spicy super regional matchup there in Fayetteville if the balls came a-calling to Hogland. I mentioned earlier, toughest region, and obviously they're all going to have their ups and downs, but the LA region is great. You got UCLA, very, very good baseball team, always historic, always got tons of talent. UC Irvine, I've been talking about them for a while. They're a sneaky good baseball team. They are the 2 seed in this region. They are very, very good. They have talent offensively, and they can field the ball, they can pitch, they can do it all. Arizona State's it's a baseball power as well. They're the 3 seed. Arizona State is the 3 seed out of the Big 12. And then Fresno State, very, very good baseball team. Again, it's California talent. They're not going to have any shortage of it. If you're kind of like, well, Fresno State, they don't play baseball. 2007 season, June of 2008, Fresno State played Georgia for the national championship in the final series, and they beat them in Game 3. They can play baseball in Fresno State. They can play baseball in California. And that's where any of those 4 teams can win that region. So that one right there, if you want to be up late, you tell like Pac-12 after dark for football. We got, what do you ever want to call this? California baseball or West Coast baseball after dark all weekend, May 30th through June 2nd. That should be fun. That one right there, slightly followed by the Conway, South Carolina regional I mentioned about earlier. And the Hattiesburg regional, you have Southern Miss, Alabama, and Miami. Southern Miss baseball, folks, don't overlook it. They hosted a regional before, lost to Ole Miss a couple of years ago. Southern Miss baseball is very, 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 very proud program, and they can get it done down there in Hattiesburg. And obviously Alabama, Miami, those guys have resources. They can win, they can play. So whichever team wants to show up in that region, it's gonna be a lot of fun to watch. The cleanest path, Texas and LSU had the cleanest paths. I mean, LSU got Rhode Island, Little Rock, and Dallas Baptist. Dallas Baptist can hit, but who have they really played consistently all year? That's what I want to see. I don't think they've seen LSU pitching before. That's going to be a fun one. Texas, you got Kansas State, might give them some fun. Houston Christian, UTSA. I'm not too worried. I mean, if Texas doesn't go out there and just clean sweep it all, if they lose one of those games in the regional, then I'd be like, do I have concerns about them going forward because they lost the game? But you know what? Just win the region and move on. Arkansas's region, if Arkansas doesn't take care of Creighton, Kansas, and a 20-32 North Dakota State University baseball team, you have no excuses. I know Creighton, Kansas are good baseball programs. Creighton, obviously, and they're in Omaha. Arkansas, you guys, you lift yourself up as a baseball program, baseball school. You got to prove it. No excuses. On the other side, really, really, really think we're going to see Auburn get through, but NC State has a fun way of being very pesky, very opportunistic when it comes to baseball. And I could really see NC State maybe giving some trouble to Auburn if the chips fall correctly. But overall, it's not going to be too much of a problem. It'll be an Auburn Tiger move through. And I will also move on, and I will see Georgia taking on through it and getting the job done. And I'm going to say Georgia Tech takes care of Ole Miss in that regional as well and moves forward. And then LSU obviously taking care of business. Arkansas and Tennessee take care of business. A lot of chalk. And it's no disrespect to the other teams around, but at this time of year, these teams have been built for it. They've already competed for it. I got a feeling you're going to see some real success, and we're going to have a major showcase coming forward of some really good SEC baseball and ACC matchups here and there when it matters in the super regionals. Looking on the softball side, we are at the Women's College World Series now. It takes place in Oklahoma City. You're going to get Oklahoma, Tennessee, Texas, Oregon, Ole Miss, Florida, I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, and Texas Tech. Oklahoma going for their 5th straight national championship, and their 7th in the last 8 years, or 8 in the last 9 years, 7th, I don't know. It's pretty something ridiculous that is just going to be, I think you just need to sort of sit back and just watch the greatness happen. Are they as good as they have been the past few years? No, because they graduated 10 seniors off that last team. So Oklahoma, there is opportunity to maybe knock down the giant, take out the queen, if you will. But there's going to be a lot of great softball being played. If you haven't watched it, turn in because it is a very fast-paced, energetic game. Especially if you're going to see the 8 best teams in the nation all squaring off. It is, Carmody there for Texas Tech, the best player in the country, according to most people. Took $1 million NIL to go from Stanford to Texas Tech. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes helped pay for some of that. There's a lot on the line there. And it's going to be an interesting sort of setup to see how this team now reacts. And all these teams, Florida, they get there all the time. What they do there in Gainesville, they just produce winners. And it is something very, very unique about it, where they just can get the right players at the right time to sort of show up when it matters, year in and year out. And it's a program build, is what it all is about. You build a program. There's not just you're going to have obviously some cases where you're going to have the onesers, the great players here and there who are going to show up week in and week out. But it's the role players. It's the infielders who are going to put the bunt down. It's the fielders who are going to make the play at short, make the play at second, catch the ball when it has to be, caught. Doing the simple things, the little things. That's what matters this time of year, whether it's softball or baseball. It's doing the little things, working the walks. You'll know in softball, you're going to have some strikeouts, but you're also going to have some walks. You have to work the pitchers, get the walks, get on base, deliver when the clutch hits come into play. You're not going to have this time of year, against the talent you're playing, you're probably not going to be scoring 10, 12, 14 runs every single day. You're going to have to win games 2-1, 1-0. And with softball, obviously the field is a little bit smaller, so everything's condensed. You're going to have to run hard. You're going to have to get where you need to get and play crisp defense. Pitching, you're going to find probably the same pitcher every single day, but right now you're getting the elite of the elite, the best of the best. Be locked in, enjoy the experience, but don't just be too happy to be there. This is it's a chance to win a national championship. For all those who don't know, it will start on Thursday, so I believe that is May 29th, and it runs through. It's a double elimination tournament. Obviously, ESPN, ESPNU, ESPN Plus, ESPN2, all those networks will broadcast all the games there from Oklahoma City. But tune in, give them attention because it is a great spectacle. Those girls can play, and they can play at the most high level. And you're going to see a lot of them now with the creation of the women's softball professional league. A lot of these girls have already been drafted and be playing there real soon. It's a chance to sort of showcase and get that going and really represent. But right now, we are at the time where we are wrapping up all of college sports with, obviously the NCAA Men's Baseball Tournament and the Women's College World Series here at the end of May into June. And before you know it, the 24-25 academic, athletic year for college sports will be wrapping up. And come July 1, we'll turn the page into the next season, the 25-26 campaign. We'll ramp it up for football, but enjoy the baseball, enjoy the softball while we still have it, because at a collegiate level, you're going to see some of the best. And it's going to be a high festival environment across the board in both those tournament spectacles as they wrap up through the rest of the season. One thing, as we move away from college athletics and college baseball and the NCAA tournament for both women's softball and men's baseball, get back to Major League Baseball a little bit. And one other competition that kind of is going to revolve around Major League Baseball is the World Baseball Classic in March of 2026. So far, we have seen Marta Rosa come back, be rehired as the manager. He was the manager last time they went out there in 2023, and they played Japan for the championship. That was that team. I remember Mike Trout versus Shohei there. It was perfect. It was everything you kind of want it to be. Everything that was an elite level baseball competition. You started seeing all the nations really having their best major leaguers show up. And really coming with pride, with focus, with drive. And it's something that I want to continue to keep seeing grow. And I think it's going to keep growing. And one thing that really proves to me that is going to keep growing, and we're going to start seeing the best of the best, not just from Dominican Republic or Puerto Rico or Colombia or Venezuela. We're going to start seeing from Team USA. When Aaron Judge committed a couple of weeks back, saying, I am going to be on Team USA and I'm the captain, that right there said, all right, these guys are serious. It's like winning a gold medal. It's like, going to the Olympics and playing baseball, winning a national championship. You're winning a World Baseball title, which I think people now take serious. When it first came out, you had Derek Jeter, you had Ken Griffey Jr., some of the guys were on the very last legs of their careers. Like they're just out there tipping their cap, kind of like Jimmy Dugan in a League of Their Own. Like, oh, I'm a legend. I'm here. Blah, blah. That's great. Congratulations. And it seemed like just some people didn't care. The Latin, Hispanic, the South American nations, they cared. But the Americans are like, whatever. And after a couple of years of getting embarrassed, we saw 2 tournaments ago where there was some pride and they went out and won. And they came back, 2 years ago in 23, they went to the championship again. And now we're starting to see, all right, this tournament is actually becoming a tournament. We saw kind of the vibe when it had the 4 Nations tournament in hockey during the All-Star break this past February, where people love to see the international tournaments. They love to see the best of the best playing for their nation, and showing up when it matters. So seeing Aaron Judge lock in, and then seeing Paul Skeens, who went to the Air Force Academy, him guaranteeing locking in his spot. Now you have two young studs who are elite at their high level. Skeens from the pitching perspective, Aaron Judge from everything else, committing to Mark DeRosa and Team USA. That's going to get a flurry of other guys. So as episodes have gone on, I want to make our own Power Alley podcast, Team USA. Last episode, I added Zach Wheeler from a starting perspective, put him on the bump with Skeens. Obviously, we are still in spring training, so the guys won't be as stretched out. But you put Skeens, Wheeler, maybe get them a 3-inning or 4-inning first outing in regional group play, get their arm going, but then late down the stretch in elimination time, you maybe go 5 or 6 innings with those guys, locked in, a little extra amp, a little extra lather. I like my chances as Team USA when you put those two guys out there 1-2. And knowing Skeens, if you're an LSU fan, you saw him a couple of years back when he took the Tigers to a national championship. I know maybe the Pirates won't be happy about it. Maybe his agent won't be happy about it. But the dude might come out of the bullpen. Like, hey, I'm trying to get myself working. He might come in the 7th or 8th inning. Shohei, he closed out the championship for Japan, pitched in the 9th. They already had Sasaki, they had Yamamoto, and they had Kodai Senga pitch already for the starting and middle of the rotation for Japan. And Shohei came out of the bullpen for 1 inning. For him, it's work, but he came out fired 100 plus and took care of business and won the game and won the championship for Japan. You can see Paul Skeens do that. At this time of the year, you don't want to play everybody. You want to get guys a lot of playing time. And that brings in position flexibility. Mookie Betts can play second, can play short, you can play your outfield, you can even DH. I want Mookie Betts on this team. He gives you a vibe. He gives you a clutch vibe. You put him in, he can start at second one day. If you want to rotate him short and play somebody else second, you can move him around, drop him in the outfield, maybe even a mid-game switch where I'm just going to say Bryce Terang for defensive purposes at second base in the 7th or 8th inning. You move Mookie to short, you move Mookie to right field, you pull in maybe Schwarber off of right field into the dugout, you get yourself some defensive, security out there. You need that flexibility, and you can rotate through and all these guys can play. So Mookie Betts right there, giving that opportunity, not just because he has flexibility position-wise, but if you can play, he can hit. You put him up in the top of the lineup, you're in a great spot. And as we already know, we had 2 starters, just Skeens and Wheeler. We're going to need some bullpen. We're probably going to have a lot of bullpen guys or middle relief guys coming in different points. I want Josh Hader as my lockdown number 1 closer. You build your bullpen from the closer out. Josh Hader's my closer. I put him back there from Team USA. He's going to come out there where it matters most, get some strikeouts in high leverage moments. So that's what I'm going to. And Mookie Betts from the out in the field perspective, and Josh Hader there at the closer spot. I'm looking at 2 solid players on this team for Team USA who are going to make a big difference and get us done. As we go forward in future episodes, we will continue to keep adding to this list until we have our full 26-man roster. Now, what Team USA did last time World Baseball Classic, they made history in their own right, and if you determine it for that, they won. So there's history perspective there. Baseball has history all around it. Today, May 26th is obviously Memorial Day. I'm recording this. It's a very poignant and heartfelt moment for many of us, thousands of us, millions of us Americans who know what it costs to be able to play baseball and be free and run podcasts and all that fun stuff. But there are a lot of men who never returned, a lot of men and women who never returned from deployment in various different conflicts and situations. There are men, obviously, this being a holiday that we represent and we honor the ones who did not return, but kind of keeping in the militaristic spirit. I'm going to look at the all military lineup of major leaguers made up of World War I, World War II, Korea service members. It's got members who were in uniform during those times in those conflicts. Now, this is not directly from me. I do want to help spread the Twitter, X community. This is a tweet, comes from Old Time Hardball. It's at Old Time Hardball on Twitter /X. And they put together this all military lineup of major leaguers. And I saw this and I was like, it's pretty cool. This is actually kind of a fitting episode. So all this collective, they've all served in World War I, World War II, and or Korea. Starting at catcher, obviously Yogi Berra, World War II Navy veteran, was actually in the Normandy invasion, helping bring soldiers to the beaches on the landing craft. So he's seen some stuff, and he was a great player for the Yankees. But he was definitely a World War II vet, was heavily involved. At first base, Stan the Man, Stan Musial. Stan Musial, World War II veteran in the Navy, played for the Cardinals, the Duke and Rake. Absolute legendary player for the St. Louis Cardinals there, and served his country in World War II in the United States Navy. No list could go without this next man. Jackie Robinson, second baseman, World War II veteran, served in the Army. Um, Obviously, was an amazing player for the Dodgers, broke the color barrier. You know all of it. But also his service to the nation on top of that was something that is truly just shows you the lengths he was going to make his make this world a better place for all of us. Third base, my dad's favorite player, Boston Brave, Milwaukee Brave, Atlanta Brave, among many other teams, Eddie Matthews. He kind of always is hidden behind Hank Aaron and Warren Spahn, Lou Burdette on the the Milwaukee Braves World Series team. But Eddie Matthews was one of the best baseball players of all time. He could just straight out rake. He actually served in the Army in the Korean War, but he was an amazing player who could do it. He was served in the Army during the Korean War, per the records that we found. So he definitely got it done, and he was a great player. Shortstop, Navy veteran, World War II Navy veteran, Phil Rizzuto. Guy could play. You put them on the left side of the infield, him and Eddie Matthews eating everything up. Not a ball's getting through. The outfield, this outfield, these guys might actually could have just played outfield, infield at the same time. That's how athletic and how amazing they were. Left field, Ted Williams, World War II and Korea, Marines. What he did before he went to World War II, he had won batting titles, MVPs, I believe, a couple of them. Goes to World War II, flies planes, becomes an ace, comes back, wins an MVP, does some more, goes to Korea, shoots down more planes, does more, becomes an ace, I believe. There's even a story where his wingman and one of his best friends was John Glenn, and he's come back all shot up, and John Glenn flew out, was with him and guided him in, make sure he landed, safely. Ted Williams on the baseball field in service of the nation, absolute true American icon across the board. And right next to him, another American icon, Willie Mays, served in the United States Army during the Korean War. The accolades of what Willie could do in center field. I mean, the catch over his shoulder, guy could play left and right, do whatever he wanted. Top 5, top 10 greatest players of all time in baseball history. True legend, and definitely gave service to his nation, just like Jackie, just like every single other man on this list. Right field was a tough list, but the one they went with was Ty Cobb, World War I veteran, served in the Army. He set the bar for everybody else on this list by the way he could play, and Ty Cobb's name will still reverberate through baseball history for generations to come. Starting pitcher Warren Spahn, World War II, Army, Boston Brave, Milwaukee Brave, Atlanta Brave, an amazing left-handed pitcher. Guy, he could just go out there every single day if he wanted to, take the ball and run complete games and strike out 12, 15 batters a day. So Warren Spahn, absolute ace. Look up his stats. An absolute beast on the mound for the Braves, wherever he played, whether it's Boston, Milwaukee, or Atlanta. And some honorable mention players, Hank Greenberg, Bob Feller, Eddie Collins, Christy Mathewson. There's the number of baseball players who serve in the armed forces, and even Roberto Clemente is not an American citizen, but he still served in the Marine Corps, became an American citizen because of that after he came over. So it's there are the connection to the United States, the service to the nation in many different ways. Truly, thank you. It is something pretty amazing and pretty legendary from that perspective. One thing we also love to do is baseball movie of the week. Gone through Little Big League, gone through Field of Dreams. This one, Moneyball. Moneyball is going to be the movie we're going to talk about here for a second. Was it really a good movie? Was it just good because it had some good actors in it? Chris Pratt plays Scott Hatterberg. Philip Seymour Hoffman does an amazing job as Art Howe. Obviously, you have another host of actors across the board. It's just but it wasn't really a good film. I think the one thing it's a great story. Oh, the A's had no money. They went for cheap players. They sort of shuffled the deck and moved it around. It ignores the factors of some of the players who were actually already on that team. That's where I kind of laugh at it. Are we adding more fiction to reality? That 2002 season, the season's all about. They were 103-59. They tied the Yankees were 103-58. The Athletics, the A's, however you want to call them, were 103-59. They weren't exactly an 82, 84 win ball club that just squeaked into the playoffs and won a pennant. They weren't the Indians from Major League that somehow just were terrible and scrapped it all together. They had talent. Yeah, they lost Jason Giambi and Johnny Damon and Jason Isringhausen to the Yankees, Red Sox, and Cardinals in free agency that year after 2021 into 2022. They had Eric Chavez. They had Miguel Tejada. They had Tim Hudson, Mark Mulder, Barry Zito, Jermaine Dye, Aaron Harang, Chad Bradford, and others. This team was not empty. This was not an empty cupboard. They were just sort of pitching things together and mixing and matching. They had tons of talent on that ball club. They just had to find ways to make, who are they going to put at first base to make up for that? Who are they going to fill in an outfield, fill it in two roles, and then find a way to get the bullpen kind of sealed up? But they had starting pitching. They had a good lineup. It wasn't like that cupboard was bare. So that movie, Moneyball, the premise, great. Reality, not so much. Like, there was talent there, and they developed that talent beforehand. So if you want to talk Moneyball, the real premise of the whole thing should be draft and develop prospects, make smart trades, and when the guys get to that value, make sure you have the talent in the organization to replenish them, so the loss of that player isn't as hard to deal with. You get a comp pick nowadays, you can help offset it. You can use that money maybe that you were spending for Jason Giambi or Johnny Damon on two or three other guys as opposed to one, and you help bring up your prospects who are going to have lesser contracts, develop them, mature them. If you trade them while their value's high and you need to get more prospects, that's great. But manage that way. You don't always have to high spend. So, Moneyball, a little far fetched from the perspective of they were just pitching, and scrapping together needles and stuff. And this week's deep drive to left, we're going to give my top 10 and my bottom 5 as it stands through May 25th. Number 1, Detroit Tigers. Number 2, the Phillies. My third team is the Mets. My fourth team is the Yankees. Cubs are 5th. Dodgers 6th. Giants 7th. Cardinals 8th. Padres 9th. And the Mariners are my 10th. They rounded out. All 10 of those teams are playing really well. All probably in a good spot to make the playoffs as we are 2 months almost done of the season, but you never know how the rest of the year plays out. Bottom 5. I'm sure you could guess the worst team. It's the Rockies. They're absolutely horrendous. They're terrible. Orioles, they're my second to worst because they're just underachieving at an unprecedented level. That lineup is great, but that pitching is absolutely abysmal. They fumbled the Corbin Burns situation big time. It is now costing them a lot, and it might hold that franchise back a couple of years because right now that pitching is just so far away from being anything decent, comparable, respectable that all those young players in that lineup are eventually gonna waste their time in Baltimore. They're gonna trade out, leave as free agents, and it's just gonna be a what if golden age of Orioles baseball. Pirates are right above them. It's Paul Skeens. O'Neill Cruz is an absolute beast, but they can't put it together, and their bullpen is absolutely horrendous. It's a lot. It's some good players, but not a collective that can be successful day in and day out, night in and night out for the Pirates. The White Sox have actually been somewhat competitive. I think they've done a lot. They've shown more life this year than they did last year. They're still talent-wise is not there, but they've actually played better baseball day in and day out, which is actually, I think, the White Sox fans. If you're going to be bad, at least be respectable, at least be enjoyable. And they're actually enjoyable to watch and they compete every single day. The Marlins, a lot of young players, still learn at the major league level. Not there yet. They have some talent, but they're still maybe 3 years away from being a true competitor for a wild card spot. Definitely not winning the NL East though. Coming from those, some managerial decisions we want to talk about. Looking at some best bets for the upcoming time period. Just keep in the back of your mind. Prop bets are a big thing. Now, I'm going to heighten this. Be responsible when gambling. Only gamble what you can lose. Make sure you know what you're betting in a safe amount and that you can afford it. And know when to step away. But when it comes to baseball, it's not just money line. It's not the spread's usually minus or plus 1.5. So you're not going to get much from that perspective. So look at prop bets. How can I do parlays? Look at those different aspects. A winner plus a batter to get a stolen base or a player to get a hit. How can you sort of stack some of those and make a a $5 bet with a couple legs on it turn into a decent return. The money line bets and some of that, unless you're pairing them all together or betting an exorbitant amount, you're better off to run the prop bets and sort of pair them together in parlays. But some of the prop bets, I'm going to look at the stolen bases this time. I've talked about pitching in the past couple episodes, some strikeouts and some pitchers you should look at from that perspective, and some hits, etc. We're going to look at some stolen bases because you can bet over under stolen bases. 16 teams have given up 40 or more stolen bases through May 24th. That's more than half the league. So if you're looking at stolen bases, probably not a bad idea to start betting, hey, can I put $5 in a parlay? Maybe a couple of these guys get a stolen base today or tomorrow. Look at that. Look how you can play that out. If you're looking to figure out how to maximize that, the Marlins have allowed 79 stolen bases. That is the most in baseball. So if the team is playing the Marlins, like if the Reds play the Marlins or the Brewers play the Marlins or the Cubs play the Marlins, bet De La Cruz, bet Terang, most players in those three rosters, the Reds, Cubs, and Brewers against the Marlins are going to be okay because they're going to have a chance to steal some bags. The Astros have allowed 62. The Braves have allowed 57. So if you're looking to sort of bet some parlays or have some guys who steal some bases, if they're playing the Braves, Astros, or Marlins, I would highly recommend if you're going to go for some stolen base parlays, look at that and look at those equations. The Athletics and Rays have each allowed 53. The Rockies have allowed 51. So if you're looking at teams who allow a lot of stolen bases, Rockies, Rays, Athletics, Braves, Astros, Marlins, all in there. The Guardians have allowed 47. So they've got some control, but they're right there. On the other side of it, do not bet a stolen base prop when you're playing the Kansas City Royals. I don't care who you have. If it's Ellie De La Cruz, it doesn't matter. Do not bet stolen base props against the Kansas City Royals. They have only allowed 8 successful stolen bases on the season. 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That is it. Nobody runs on the Royals, and do not try to put money on someone stealing a bag against the Royals. It's probably not going to happen. The next team in great defense, I'm going to say, of stolen bases that really shut down the running game. The Mets have allowed 21. 8 for the Royals, 21 for the Mets. That's how good the Royals have been. And then right above the Mets, the Tigers and Cubs have allowed 26. So those 4 teams, if you're trying to run stolen base props, don't do it against the Tigers, Cubs, Mets, or Royals. And you at least put yourself in a better spot to be successful with that bet. When it comes to pitching, also looking at runs per game, we mentioned earlier about some of the bullpen ERAs. Everyone in the NL Central has a bullpen ERA of 4 or higher. Obviously, the Angels have an ERA of 6 and change. The Braves have a 6. The Nats have 6. If you're looking at the over or under run totals, factor that into an equation. If you're playing against them, if you can get to the starting pitcher, if it's a 4 or 5 starter or a guy making a spot start, that bullpen's probably going to give up some runs. Maybe look at your team overs, because it's not just a game total. It's a team over. If it's over 3.5, over 4.5, over 5.5, and you know you're going against a leaky bullpen, you have a chance maybe to deliver late and get some extra runs to help push out and win some of those as they go forward. So we have an exciting episode. Hopefully you enjoyed this one. College World Series is very, very soon. We're a couple of weeks away from Omaha. NCAA Tournament for baseball. The 16 regionals start on Friday, May 30th. So get in for that. Super Regionals the weekend of June 6th. And the Women's College World Series from Oklahoma City, from a softball perspective, we're going to crown a national champion here real quick. That will start on Thursday, May 29th. All those, whether it's baseball or softball, the tournament actions can all be seen on ESPN, ESPN2, ESPNU, ESPN Plus, SEC Network, ACC Network. Just stay in tune to find out what games, what start times they come into play, but they're going to be on all across the board the next few weeks. Thank you so much for joining the Power Alley podcast. We're connected to Spinnable Sports Network. You can find us on all podcast platforms as well as Spinnable Sports YouTube channel. I'm Fresh. You can find me on Twitter/X at SS_2Fresh. I'm a contributor to SpinnableSports.com and co-host of our flagship podcast, The Irrational Confidence Podcast. You can also find that on Twitter and X at IR Confidence Pod. And if you're looking for more, at Spinnable Sports on Twitter X is the core of our network, and SpinnableSports.com among all things. So, and hit us up any way possible. We love baseball. We love all sports. We have a lot of football there, especially college football. Hit us up, interact on social media, interact through the website, interact through the YouTube channel. We'd love to hear from you and want to talk to you more often. And with that, we'll catch you next time with more chatter from the Power Alley. Bye, y'all.